Good morning, ladies. Sharon Danley here for 2 Minute Tips with Healthy Beauty and Confident Aging. This channel's focus is all about inner and outer beauty through simplicity, strength, style, and grace. I just want to make sure that we have some people watching and that the sound is okay before I move forward. So if you could, somebody give me a thumbs up or something, that would be great. Okay, so today's session, of course, is I'm the Boss of Me, but it's session 2, and it's about personal power versus emotional bondage. And then, of course, we're going to have our 2 minute beauty tips in 2 minutes and followed by our usual Q&A. All right, so I'm going to jump right into it. Personal power, whether it's personal power or is it emotional bondage? So we can break things down into a few categories, and we're going to look at the emotional bondage first. You can look at it through what you have happened to you in the workplace or personal or in general. And I'll put this up for you so that you can have a little look, although I'm not sure that you'll be able to see it all that well. But on the Facebook page, I'm the Boss of Me, this will be up there too. So in the workplace, oftentimes this is what people report on, is you feel in bondage because there's a lack of appreciation, a lack of respect, feeling listened to, the freedom to speak up, and the unfairness that often happens in the workplace. People are working more due to email and smartphone invasion for off the clock time. 40% are stressed. 75% believe they have more on the job stresses than a generation ago. And 29% of workers felt extremely stressed at work. This is from the American Institute of Stress just this year. Now, in our personal lives, uh, we can, we get stressed or feel in bondage through abusive childhoods that leave us feeling unworthy of love, or uh, that love is conditional. So if we behave a certain way, then we will get love. The rise of physical, sexual, and sex trafficking has become a pandemic worldwide. And that's an issue that most people don't want to talk about, but it's there nevertheless. Unhealthy lifestyles are major contributors to coronary disease, being the number one cause of death among women, and stroke being a leader in the cause of serious long term disability. And that's from the Heart and Stroke Foundation of Canada. A large segment of 10-year-olds admit to dieting, binge eating, or fear of getting fat, according to a Harvard Eating Disorder Clinic study in Boston. Children are being taught inappropriate sexual education, fostering them to become sexually active, and the growth in STDs are looked upon as something to manage rather than to avoid in today's current lifestyle. Bondage is also adult addiction, whatever it is, from drugs, alcohol, smoking, vaping, sanitizing, hoarding, pornography, and more. Society is medicating itself more and more in these troubled times. Now, in general, what we have is a major depression is happening and a growth of PTSD, sorry. They're common and widespread, and they're the biggest of all the psychiatric disorders. And it's a leading cause of disability worldwide among persons 5 years of age and older. And that's from the World Health Organization. Social engineering continues to skew unhealthy body images and gender ideology in every sector, which contributes to the massive growth of plastic surgeries and transgender reassignment surgeries. Racism, sexism, ageism, ableism, and the other isms still exist. Gender equality is still elusive, and divisiveness and corruption have become the norm. One third of society's demographic is now elderly. So 27.8% employed Canadians, and this is from Canada, care for elderly dependents, and almost 1 in 5 care for both elderly dependents while raising children or grandchildren that they're caring for. The average North American reads only 4 books a year, watches 8 hours of TV daily, spends 980 on lottery tickets yearly, and thinks power is money and fame. It feels like we have more convenience but less time, more money but less satisfaction, more choice but less contentment, more opportunities but less gratification. We work harder, but are we working smarter? So that's just some of the things that um, can hold us in emotional bondage. And oftentimes we're not really familiar because our everyday lives are going about the things that are important in our lives. We're not paying much attention to how we are falling into these traps. We look at it from the beauty perspective, of course, the imaging, and we fought that all our lives, and our young women are fighting it today. You know, the whole idea of fighting age, or getting plastic surgery to get rid of things, all that sort of stuff. That is bondage. That's being held. You're going with the flow in the river with respect to all of that. However, there is personal power to look at too, and um, people who are powerful, people who are in charge of themselves, people who direct their own lives where they want them to go, people who take care of the situation in their lives as crises or trauma unfolds, because it does with everybody, but they know how to handle it. And here's some ideas, on what powerful people are all about. Powerful people, they decide how to feel about what life sends them. That's probably the most important aspect, that right there is deciding how to feel about anything. They respond to situations, they don't knee jerk react. They are in charge of their emotions and choose how to feel always. They enjoy their journey through life and don't wait to be happy. Whatever stage we're at, and we bring this back to beauty, where, when we're trying to fight age, or we're told in marketing statements, there was for a while, fight your age, do anything you can to hide it. No, 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 not in my world. Whatever age we're at, embrace it, enjoy it, get the most out of it. And the thing is, when you move along to the next stage and you do the same thing with that, when you end up in your rocking chair years, you will have enjoyed each stage or passion or passage to its fullest. And you will be able to look back with fondness on how much you enjoyed. Whereas if you're in bondage, you'll be going through trying to fight it, trying to trying to beat the clock, so to speak. And of course, it never really works, does it? So being in charge of how you feel from a beauty perspective makes a huge difference. People appreciate, who are their own boss. They appreciate their achievements. They no matter where they finish, because they know that they've done the best that they can with what they've been given. Some people have been given every opportunity to start out in life and go through life and have everything handed to them. Well, are they any different than people who have not had anything? So it's really important to really ponder that one. Wherever you were born on the socioeconomic scale, what have you achieved? And sometimes that means just bringing up a child or children that are healthy, well balanced, and contribute to the world. That's a huge achievement right there. But we need to stand back and kind of look at those things. People who are their own boss know it's not where they finish, and they respect and contribute to the world around them. It doesn't mean you have to be in bondage to doing that all the time, but you respect people, you respect the world. You know, if you open it, close it. If you borrow it, give it back. If you break it, replace it. You know, if be giving a smile, a handshake, uh, and a respectful dialogue with people that you may be running into difficulties with will win every single time. They listen and work to understand other people's perspective while still respecting their own beliefs. And when you really listen to what other people have to say and truly ponder it, sometimes it moves your belief system in a different direction for the better. Sometimes it changes it. Sometimes it just reaffirms that what you believe in is the best thing. They make healthy, well thought out decisions. Again, they don't knee jerk react. When they have to think about doing something, being with somebody, getting a job, leaving a job, marrying someone, what to do with their children in a certain situation, they think it through and truly do a listing of what the pros and cons. I got to tell you, I do that all the time. Pros and cons for something, and there's usually always a winner. Um, they are self reliant, and they also know when to ask for help. That's really important. Knowing when to ask, but not asking all the time. Do what you can do for yourself, but when there comes a time you can't anymore, or for whatever reasons, you ask for help. And you know, often people are quite happy and quite willing to help. They continue to learn rather than stagnate. Just because we finished, you know, high school or university or whatever, learning is a lifelong thing. And we have never lived in a more fantastic time than now. All the world's knowledge is on the internet. And it's going to be doubling. I can't, oh, I wish I could remember what the statistics were, but it's taken like 2,000 years to get where we are. But in the next 73 years, I think, don't quote me, the knowledge will double again, and the time gets shorter and shorter, so everything's available to learn. It doesn't matter what it is, it's learning and it's moving forward rather than stagnating. They use judgment, healthy judgment, but they don't judge. There's a big difference in that. And it's really easy sometimes for people to say, oh, well, you're being, you know, judgmental. No, there's times when you're using good judgment, well thought out, whether to make a move, do something, or just in a conversation. That's something to really explore. They are quick to laugh and slow to anger. Wherever humor can be thrown into the mix, you're always going to have a better outcome. So you know, learning the art of or the enjoyment of humor is really, really good. They choose to forgive and don't allow further injuries or betrayals to occur. And forgiveness, for those that aren't familiar with it or that, you know, have this feeling that, well, forgiving means it's okay. No, it does not. Forgiving means you truly do forgive the person, and you don't let anything happen to you or the or whatever it is again. Forgiveness doesn't mean it's okay what was done. Forgiveness means you just let go of hanging on to the anger toward the person or the situation. They choose to make a difference rather than take revenge on a situation. You know, oftentimes, you know, this the eye for an eye mentality doesn't do a thing. All it does is perpetuate the issues of going nowhere. It's like going around a merry-go-round. There's no getting off when you don't make a difference. You don't take revenge. You find a different way. You find a better way. They value themselves and the world around them. People who are their own boss or who are in charge of their emotions or are powerful people, they really do value themselves and they know why they value themselves. They know what they're all about. They know their strengths, they know their weaknesses, and they work to improve their weaknesses and they continue to value and polish up their strengths. They do what excites them with integrity and live their lives to the fullest. Integrity. I'm not sure if Webster's still has the word in there, but it's a very important part of being your own boss. Because when you do things with integrity, pretty much always you'll be doing them well and you'll be doing the right thing for the right reasons. And the other thing is, they make the best of friends. They truly do. They make the very best of friends. They're somebody that you can rely on. They're someone that you can feel safe around. They're just the best friends ever. Now, I want to bring this back up. So, true power is self directed action. It's not a fake feeling of power by trying to control others. It really isn't. Um, Knowing without doing is not to know is another famous phrase. And when we keep repeating the same actions or continue doing nothing, expecting to get different results, well, it's stagnating and it's non productive. Um, what we do each moment creates our past and designs our future. Uh, this self mastery is self management. Being the boss of you means discovering, defining, designing, and directing and acting on your choices. Remember, when you follow your passions with integrity, you transform negative viewpoints, you augment your strengths, you choose how to feel in all situations and direct your life with positive habits in every way you can and handle any situation powerfully. And you achieve a compelling life. So, that's it for the little portion of me yammering on about it. I'm going to open this up now to questions to see if anybody has any questions. And I see that. Let me see if I can do this. These are wonderful people saying a good morning. And it does work, doesn't it? Yes, sirree. Okay, so now let me see. How do I do this? Okay. I'm just trying an experiment, ladies, here, because YouTube, by the way, has changed things up again. Arg! So I'm going to be practicing with some new techniques on how it's all set up and see if I can figure out or that I can make things work okay for us. Now, does anybody have any questions with respect to bondage, emotional bondage, or being your own boss, being in charge? Because I don't see anything. Um, and of course, while I'm waiting to see if anybody does have any questions, I'm going to put this up on our Facebook page. And now's the time to mention, I guess, I've opened up a Facebook page called I'm the Boss of Me. It's a private group page so that we can discuss things, we can try things out. People have been trying out their personal um, uh, commercials, and it's been good. They can get some coaching on how to minimize it yet still get the most out of it. Okay. Pardon me. Every time I do this, I know I get some kind of my nose runs for some reason. So there doesn't seem to be any questions. Um, so I guess if that's the case, then maybe I should just move right along to our two tips. Um, the first one, to avoid color on your teeth. Knowing you put your lipstick on, and sometimes you got a little bit of lipstick on your teeth, there's two things you can do. One, bend your knuckle like this and go like this. And you will see there may be some left. The other thing that you can do is, if you're using the Maybelline Superstay, between each layer of lip color, be sure to blot for two reasons. One, makes the process faster. Two, when you put your next layer on and you blot again, your lipstick's going to wear longer and stronger. Believe me. Okay, so that's one. And Vaseline to remove your skin. That's right, to remove your skin. Duh, remove your makeup. That's right. A little Q-tip with Vaseline. That's just this regular little thing here. Put this over your lips and it will come off. The other thing is and if you've got heavy eye makeup on, the Vaseline really helps to get rid of it too. Okay, it's you could use that as well as anything, and Vaseline is really good for the skin and the hair. What you can do afterwards too is just add a little bit more Vaseline before you go to bed and put it on your cuticles. Okay, and if you have dry elbows or knees or whatever, the Vaseline will really help. And if your hands are really bad, then do your backs of your hands and wear some gloves. And if you even just did that for a couple of hours or did it overnight or whatever, it would be great. So, lipstick on the teeth, mwah, and Vaseline to remove makeup and to make your lips more supple. Okay? I'm going to go back to questions here because it seems we have one from Pat Thompson. I was in a toxic relationship and had to remove myself from the person. Forgave what they did, but couldn't allow them back in my life. Pat, that's a perfect example of taking charge, being in charge of yourself, and being your own boss. And while that can be difficult to do, doing it is essential, and it does pay off. It's like for those that are wanting their gray hair to grow in, um, they think it's really hard at first, which it's not. It's all depends on how you handle it. But they think that it's a really tough grind. But hanging in there and sticking with it, it does pay off in the end, just like what you've done, Pat. And Pat, again, people didn't agree with me not letting them back in. Oh, and you will get that. Powerful people, people who are their own boss, can take those comments from friends, and knowing that you're not going to listen to them anyway, you can still say thanks and you know do what you need to do. Bravo, Pat. Bravo. And Mira Rainey says, hello, how are you? And Sandy Martin says, Vaseline is great. Yes, it is great, isn't it, Sandy? Also, when I broke my shoulder, and my personal care worker that was helping me, she suggested because I had a foot cream and I'd run out of it and da 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 da. So she suggested the Vaseline and put my socks on. And I thought, oh my God, yes, of course. After a couple of days, I thought, yes, I had forgotten the value of Vaseline. And it's funny, this it goes in and out of my life over time. But Vaseline is like, oh man, it's essential. And for those who are chapstick wearers, toss. Do not ever wear chapstick ever, 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 because it really is hard on it's hard on the skin, and it makes the lips dry and red, and then you have to keep putting more and more on. There's something addictive in it. They know what they're doing from a marketing perspective. Just use Vaseline at night. And you can now get Vaseline in little carry things that you can put in your purse or your pocketbook, and just put a little bit of that on. If you're not wearing any lipstick, that's the best thing you can do. Okay, so I don't see any questions from anybody. Well, that's interesting. Well, I guess this is going to be a quick one then, because I will come to our summary. And let me see. This is what I wanted to do. Uh, is that the one I wanted? No, it's not the one I wanted. It's not the one I wanted at all. I have an assignment for you, ladies. I want you to list in your journal that's specific for these sessions. I want you to list the ways you feel that you have no control in your life. And then list all your strengths, no matter how minor they may seem to you. List them all. Up, we have a question. Let me just bring that off and bring this in. And Sandy says, what about a husband who has so many physical dysfunctional health issues that I feel in bondage to that and my large home and property we live in? I feel stuck and I don't know my direction. That's a tough one, Sandy. It, a couple of things. One, can you talk to your husband about it? Can you tell him how you feel, and can he tell you how he feels? Now, if there's contention in this, one of the good ways to use to approach it is to use the talking stick method. Now, for those that aren't familiar, the talking stick is anything. You take, well, let's just take this and decide that it's a talking stick, okay? So whoever is holding that stick is the only person that's allowed to speak, not the other person. And then what the other person, after the person who's speaking has spoken and they're finished, they've used up everything, then the person who's listening has to paraphrase back what the talker said. Now, if the listener didn't get it right, then the talker gets to clarify. And once it's clarified, then the listener has to paraphrase back the clarity, and so forth. Then, when that's all finished with the first talker, then the stick goes to the person that was listening, and they now become the talker. I have to tell you, ladies, for anybody who hasn't tried this method, especially with contentious issues, it is a Class A winner. Does it take time? It absolutely does take more time than two people talking over each other and nobody's listening. But you get somewhere. You get to understand what the other person is really feeling and going through. It is an absolute must to have that skill set in any kind of relationship with two or more people. So that's the one thing right there. And what you could do is say that, these are just suggestions. You may want to say, you know what, we need to talk. Um, and I have some ideas on how we can make things work better for both of us. Remember, if somebody has to lose so that somebody else wins, nobody wins. You want to try to work it so that, oh, excuse me. I'm so sorry. Oh, there. You want to have it so that both people are coming out understanding the other person better and moving forward in a direction that's working for both people. I hope that answers your question, Sandy. Now, if you have a participant that isn't willing, then we have a whole other ball game. Then we have to, seriously consider what we do about ourselves in that situation. And that's where a journal is vital. Whether it's you write it, you type it, you voice journal, you video journal, whatever it is you do, it's vital that you do that, because if you're not going to have a willing participant, then you need to take charge of you. Don't let yourself be undone by somebody having power over you by not participating. I hope that answers your question okay, Sandy. And Yvonne says, "Good morning. Good morning, Yvonne. Applying Vaseline on your pearly whites may also make them shinier. I had a professional headshot done and used this method. My teeth looked white when then looked whiter than they are." Uh, oh, well, there's all kinds of things. Sometimes they would put Vaseline on teeth so that when people smiled, their lips wouldn't stay stuck. That's one thing, but I don't know if I'd suggest wearing it Vaseline on your teeth all day. Besides, it's not going to stay. But that's interesting. Yes. And Karen Taylor, talking stick method works. Yes, it does, Karen. Isn't it the best? I mean, maybe maybe I will incorporate that into this because it is an essential it's an essential tool in any relationship, no matter how good it is. Because no matter how great relationships are, you're going to learn, or you're not going to learn, you're going to find that you're going to bump up against each other on an issue or two, or three, or four, or many, or just, whatever. And it could be just in a specific area. But if you always invite the person, don't dictate to them, invite the person to come to have a discussion, a mutually beneficial discussion. That's invitational. That doesn't scare the person off. And it shows that you're looking towards gaining for the both of you, or the three of you, or the five of you, or whatever it is. Yes, Karen, thank you for that confirmation. And Sandy, I learned from your entire video here. Thank you. Oh well, then that's good, Sandy. I'm very glad that that's happened. Okay, is there any other questions? Okay, well then let's go back to our summary. Um, the assignment, yes. So you know what the assignment is, and on our Facebook page, you can share that if you want to or not, or you can share what conclusions you came to or not. Um, you can question it if you're running against something or something's not working for you. Then certainly do that. But it's really important that you seriously look at. Take a half an hour. If you took a half an hour once a week, or I'd like to say an hour once a week, just to be with you, there is such power in that. And that's you and your journal, however you journal, whatever it is, even if it's a post it note journal. You write about your feelings, and you can just sit and just kind of let everything go and just be very honest with yourself. That's the other thing in journaling, too, is that honesty with self on every level is essential. And the beautiful part about journaling is that you can be honest with yourself. I mean, really honest with yourself. I mean, with in my own case with my children, there has been time. Oh, well, without getting into it, I've really what shall I say? What's the word I'm looking for? I've really um, looked deep into myself. Am I doing this because of? Am I doing this because I'm being forced into it? Or am I doing this because it's what I think is right? Or am I doing it because it's what I was told was right? Do you know all those kinds of things? That exploring those issues really helps you to understand where you are controlled in your life and where you can control it. And remember, and like I said, the strengths. There's so many little things sometimes that we're strong with what we don't give ourselves credit for. Take credit whenever you can, when it's due. And I'm not for a second advocating something that isn't due you, but things that are due you, absolutely take credit for it, and list it as a strength of character. You know, it's an important assignment, really. And remember, it's your choice how to feel. Nobody's responsible that makes you feel. A good book to read, and I'm sure most of you have, is by Viktor Frankl. Um, of course, I can't remember it now, but it's a classic. Just look up Viktor Frankl on YouTube and or on Google, and you'll see it. It's a must read. That it was he lived in a Nazi concentration camp during the Second World War, and his insights into how he dealt with that. Now that's really being in bondage in a situation like that. That's really being in bondage. But he wrote about how he overcame it, and it was, it's a classic because it was so good. Um, Also remember, it's your choice how to respond to something. Because you may have been hurt, um, or somebody said something mean about you, or your spouse has been, you know, an idiot, because that's what we think sometimes. Um, you can choose how to respond to it. You can knee jerk react, which most times doesn't work, or you can think about how to respond. Now, if you're in a situation where it's a life or death situation, you knee jerk react. That's the appropriate time, right? You do what you have to do to save the situation. But when it's not that, and most of the things in our lives are not those critical situations, you can think about how you're going to respond. What are you going to say? What's the and when you're deciding it, what's the outcome you're looking for in your response? What's the outcome you're looking for? And think about that. Okay? And we have something from Patty here who says, yes, my attitude is my responsibility and personal choice. Yes, same for those who choose Pearly. Yes, Patty, absolutely. It is a choice. It is a choice. Ah, Zolwina, thank you so much. Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. You guys are the best. Thank you very much. Yes, exactly. Yeah, it is choice. And this is, see, these are all these tiny little things that bring us to a very powerful person. And when I say powerful person, a person who's in charge of themselves, they're their own boss. That doesn't mean powerful by mm, mm, or being a bully or anything. It just means being a powerful person within you, a person who knows who they are, who likes who they are, and is fully in charge of everything in their lives. That's a powerful person. That's the kind of person you really want to be around, isn't it? They're I don't know. They're just the kind of people you want to be around. Um, and whatever you choose to do, practice it daily. Because what you practice daily becomes a habit. And when you continue it for more than a month or 2 months, it starts to be just a natural state of beinghood. It's like when we talk about makeup. We're doing a master class right now on the Facebook page, Going Gray and Loving It. We've brought it right down. We started with foundation, and then highlight, and then blush, lipsticks. We're moving through it, and when certain parts of what we're doing, it's nothing more than a hair stroke of additional um, eyeshadow, or a hair stroke of correction on the lips. It's and when you add them all up, it's the little hair stroke changes, both in makeup and in life, that make the difference. When you add them all together, you have this powerful, beautiful, wonderful personhood that you just resonate with, you just feel good about, and people feel good being around you and with you. Okay, so it's the tiny little things. So it's like I've said earlier, if you have a bad habit and you practice it daily, you're going to get really good at it. If you have a good habit and you practice it daily, you're going to get really good at it. So it's a choice, isn't it? That's a choice. It and that it's that choice that we often forget about. We often forget about. Okay, I'm going to go back to questions because we have, let me see. Sandy says, those 2 points are very true. I have tried these personally. It works to your own benefit. Yes, Sandy, it does. And Deborah says, Sharon, your hair looks especially nice this morning. Well, thank you. You know what it is? It's just one, two, three, four, five, five large rollers, sponge rollers, and two small sponge rollers on top that I wear to bed. They're so comfortable to sleep on. And then I just take it out, finger comb it, and of course, get once I got it the way I want. And what I do on the top is I grab the crown and I separate it carefully, and I don't disturb the curl, but I back comb just the just the there's about this much, back comb it about 8 times, front and back, and then place it because it gives me that little bit of lift. And then the curl, the reason I use the smaller curl on top is that hair falls down, so it has a little bit of a tighter curl and it fits in nicer. Use the John Frieda hairspray, and bada bing, bada boom, it's done for the day. So thank you, Deborah. So that's how I achieve it, and it's so easy. It's so easy. It's so easy. Okay. No other questions, it looks like. So I want to just remind folks that, where are we here? Let me see. Yes, I put up a new playlist on the YouTube channel. It's a new playlist called I'm the Boss of Me, and each week these sessions are going to go up so that everything will be in the same place for easy retrieval for you. And if you haven't subscribed, please do so. There's a whole bunch of games going on with YouTube and Facebook now with algorithms and everything else. So if you could please thumbs up, it would be really helpful to me, because I'm not monetized or anything, and I'm not sure if I'm getting, throttled or whatever because I'm not monetized. I don't know. But if you could do that for me, I would very much appreciate it. And on Facebook, we have a new page, I'm the Boss of Me, and here is the link to it. And it will be in the description box below, of course. And of course, like, share, and subscribe, as I've already suggested. Now, for those that aren't sure, you want to find anything, just go into the search bar on the channel, or you can go to the playlists and they'll show you. But if it's about the Boss of Me, you just go to the playlist that says Boss of Me. Now, we apparently have a couple more questions, so we're going to take a look at those. And Mira says, I started a new job. I have a lack of computer skills. It's very stressful. Oh, I hear you, sister. I hear you. Does anybody here remember back in the days when computers were first coming into the workforce? I had my children, and when I was off from the workforce for a few years while I was having my children, are you ready for this? Fax machines came into the world. And I can remember having a discussion at some little soiree I was at with my husband and some other friends, and somebody had mentioned this word fax, and I said, "What's a fax?" So it got explained. Anyway, when I had to go back to the workforce a lot faster than I wanted to, needed to, or should have, But life sends you challenges. The computer was the up and coming thing. And in those days, we worked with DOS, the little green things. And when you wanted to go onto turn on the internet, you hear the AOL sound, that it had while it was, waiting to get on. I mean, anyway, long story short, I was in a lawyer's office and I was working for a lawyer friend, and they were kind of really up to date. They were really into the latest of technology and everything. I had a breakdown in that office because I was so overwhelmed with not understanding anything. I'm a very organized, the one of the best executive assistants you'll ever find because I can anticipate. But I couldn't anticipate with this. I One afternoon I left. I said, "I'm sorry, I have to leave," and I quit. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe the stress I was under. So, Mira, I totally understand. So, a whole bunch of other things were happening in my life, yada, yada, yada. At one point, I remember making a decision with myself. I had done some work for an advocacy group, and they contracted me, and I thought, I'm gonna take the money for this, and I bought myself a little laptop computer. That was back in the early 90s. So you can imagine how slow it was. And I taught myself. I I got I think it was HP. A couple of years later, I did a lot of writing on that computer because I was writing deputations and all kinds of things. So I was getting really used to the sort of the way the DOS was operating. Then I bought a computer for my home, and it was an HP, and HP at that time was offering online classes. I took those classes. I think there were six of them. They were free, and they went through all the different aspects of email, of Word, of I think PowerPoint at that point was starting to come in and things. I taught myself. As I continue to teach myself, Mira, to this day, when I'm not sure, I go onto YouTube and I put in whatever my question is technically, and usually, not always, but usually, the answer will pop up by some young guy, usually, or young girl, that will answer the questions or help you with it. There's a ton of courses that you can take online that will help you. And here's the thing, you can also get, those books, they were yellow and black, and they were like the Cole's Notes for Anything, the fastest way to learn for something. That's another route you can go. Mira, I would strongly suggest that you learn the basics of your Pages or Word document. You learn the basics of email. You learn the basics of Excel, and you learn the basics of how not Photoshop, but for business, PowerPoint. Okay, there's courses in it, Mira. The trick is, in that new job, find out from the human resources department, is there some courses or anything that they have. What are the things that are most important? If you don't feel you can do that, just kind of check and assess and see what other people are doing. If you know of anybody there that you can be friends with that can help you, ask them, what are the main uh, 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 programs that they use here, and then learn yourself on your own time. And I have to tell you, Mira, it will absolutely raise your self confidence a hundredfold. So it is stressful. I totally understand. But you can eliminate the stress by diving in and learning, and devote some time every single day to it till you get it. Okay? A half an hour every day until you get it. Anyway, I hope that helps. Ah, I hear you, sister. And Megan, better better late than never. Yes, absolutely. Love what you're saying, Sharon. Oh, good, Megan. I'm glad. And Mira says, my confidence skills are lacking. I think it's some I can learn. Yes, you can learn it. You absolutely can learn it, Mira. No two ways about it. And the trick is learning the simplest things first because it gives you a bit of confidence. And Catherine says, Windows for Dummies. Yes. So find out, Mira, are they using Mac or are they using Microsoft? That's the first thing to find out. And once you know what it is, then do as Catherine King suggested, get that thing for dummies. Thank you. That was helpful. And Pat, sometimes I ask my 9-year-old great grandson how to do something on computer. Oh, yes, of course. I mean, if you've got a youngin' around you, ask them because they're pretty darn sharp when it comes to that sort of thing. And Megan went through the same thing. Stress. Yes, yes, yes. Especially for those of us who've not been born into it, of course. You see, because we're, or at least I am, the older generation that, when I learned to type, I used an Underwood standard typewriter, where you needed a bang, bang, bang to get the keys to go down. And you used carbon paper. And if you made a mistake, especially if you had 5 copies, oh, you learned to type well. And then, when the Selectric came out, it was like, oh my God, we couldn't possibly move any far forward in technology than with the Selectric typewriter by IBM. I could type 108 words a minute on that sucker. That was my favorite machine. I like the sound of it, the feel of it, whatever. So it's yeah, it's you know, you just gotta go with whatever it is they have and do the easiest stuff first. And Myrna says, Microsoft. Yes, I will. Thanks. Good. Yes, that's a great suggestion. The where did it go now? It was Windows. Yes, Windows apps for dummies. For dummies. Those are great little books. Um, and Sandy says she gave good advice, Mira. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. Yes. How do you clean your house, ladies? You turn on your favorite show tunes, maybe pour yourself a glass of sherry or a cup of caffeine. You get it, whatever it is, and say, okay, what am I going to do first? And you do it. And I'm, when I was younger, I could clean, and my record for cleaning a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom apartment was 20 minutes. Yep. Because, you got this going here, that going there. When that does that, that was in my heyday. Now, I clean the kitchen and the bathroom one day. The next day, the bedroom and the front hall or whatever. And while I'm taking the whole day to clean the kitchen and the bathroom, I take a break after each little thing that I do, So times change, but one at a time will get you there. That's funny. And Megan, thankfully, even Windows is now intuitive like Mac. Really, Megan? Because I switched over to Mac because I at this point in my life I didn't want to deal with the Windows stuff anymore. But that's interesting to know. Thank you. And Karen Taylor, I learned on the manual typewriter too. Now when I use a typing test, it tells me not to hit the keys so hard. Oh, that's funny. I can totally relate. Oh, talk about coming into the Stone Age, eh? Oh, that's funny. Thank you. And Sandy, cleaning house comment, exactly. Once you take a step or two, you gain momentum. I do one floor at a time. Yes. Yes, Sandy, absolutely. It's called moving through life and adapting to the changes, right? Oh, and Kathy says, I'm here. Oh, good, Kathy. Glad you made it. Oh, that's funny. Yeah. One bite at a time, one step at a time, overcome one little thing at a time. It does make a difference. And remember, each time you gain just a little bit of knowledge or a little bit of skill or a little bit of whatever, It's like those hair strokes in doing makeup. Each stroke makes a big difference at the end. Little things add to big payoff. That's the thing to remember. Little things add to big payoff. Oh, that's funny. Thank you for the guffaws, ladies. They were really really good. Oh gosh. Well, let's go to our quote for today, shall we? We can only be what we give ourselves the power to be. Cherokee Feast of Days. It's yeah, it's that's exactly true, isn't it? Exactly true. It makes such a difference. Okay, well, we're coming to the end of our time. Emotional bondage or personal power, the choice is yours. And remember, I really appreciate you joining me today. Thank you. It was fun. I had a great time, and I hope you did too. It's always a pleasure spending time with you, and I'm really awestruck and respectful and grateful to you ladies who are stepping out your outside of your comfort zone and wanting to do better, to learn more, to improve. Not everybody wants to. You know what I've found, that a lot of times people are just interested in the makeup, and I got to tell you, oftentimes I find that when people they want to learn makeup skills, or they buy new tools or new makeup or whatever, they think that because they've watched it or they've bought it, that that gets the job done, when in fact it does not. The job gets done by actually doing, by actually doing, by making the mistakes, correcting the mistakes, going back at it. That's how you build skill. That's how you hone your skills. That's how you create a life worth living and enjoying, no matter what is put in your path. You have a way forward because you are the boss of you, nobody else. So remember, take good care of yourselves, your loved ones, and the world around you. And if you've benefited in any way, please pay it forward with your own special time, or your own special talent, I should say, time or treasure, to somebody in need in your postage stamp of the world. Thank you. And I should let you know, I've got some major house stuff or apartment stuff that's going on in my life in the next 3 weeks or so. So I'm not sure if I'll be able to be on next week or not. If not, just follow with the assignments, and I'll try to do a review next week. But after that, I'm going to have to take a couple of weeks off from everything, because I have chosen to put my energy where it's needed, in the most important place, because if I do that, it will serve me to do a better job to serve you. Okay. Thank you so much, ladies. Have a wonderful balance of your day, and please do the assignments, because the person who will benefit will be you. Mwah!